Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview, this time covering VCT Masters Toronto 2025. My guest at this time is neilzinho of Team Heretics, coming off of their match against PaperX, in which they fell 2-0 to thus go down into the second round of the Swiss stage in the loser side. And so, obviously, neilzinho, a tough way to go down, given how the team had plenty of expectations and pretty decent form coming from the end of VCT EMEA. Still, though, to go down like this, I mean, once the match finished up, what was going through your mind? What were you kind of saying to the team to just kind of try to process this and begin the transition over to the next match?
We haven't actually really had a chance to speak yet. The way these events work is pretty chaotic. We've had about 30 seconds as a team. Everyone gets pulled away for press and then press conference. So we just said, obviously we're disappointed. It's not one person's fault. It's a whole collective issue if you play that badly. Whilst we did play bad, of course, I do think PaperX played well. And if you come to this event, an event like this, and you don't perform to your best, you will get torn apart, and that's exactly what happened. Like, we got completely outclassed. So yeah, that's the whole kind of talk that we need to have together is a much longer discussion than what we have at the event right now. So we'll do like a little hot debrief later on at the hotel. We'll probably spend the rest of the night talking about it, to be honest, and just coming up with solutions and yeah, getting anything off our chest that needs to get off, and try to get to the bottom of it as quick as we can, because we don't have much time. I think we've got about 48 hours until the next game, and we've done it before. We played poorly against Fnatic in the upper bracket final in the EMEA, and then dropped down to Lures, and we managed to play really well against Liquid. So it's not something that we are new to. It's happened to us before, and I'm confident we can show a much better face in our next game, because we have to, realistically.
No, no, definitely understand it. And knowing what you guys did last year, you guys definitely have that potential to make that happen as well. I want to look at one of the answers that you gave in the press conference repeatedly, and you mentioned about how the team didn't really have a good read on PaperX. I want to ask you for like an elaboration on that aspect. But first and foremost, I want to ask you sort of like, what was the initial read that you guys had, during the preparation phase, from the moment you guys found out that Papers was going to be your opponent? What was that like? What were some of the aspects of the game that you felt like the team could have highlighted, in that phase, and how did that set preparation like veer off from the ideal kind of field?
I think we prepared as much as we could have. That was the one thing we had time on, actually, like prepping for them. Like, we had a good amount of time for it. They're unpredictable. They've always been unpredictable. Pearl, for example, they played 5 different comps. It's a difficult thing to deal with. You just don't know what they're going to play, but we could obviously take some reads, and we knew there was most likely going to be double duelist. Most likely they were going to have device on Pearl. The problem is it was mostly ourselves. Like, we were poor. Like, our individual prep was poor. I don't think we showed ourselves at all. So it wasn't really what they did to us. It's more how we dealt with ourselves. Like, you really need to hear like the communication stuff from our end. We were kind of just flat, and we were just one step behind. And like Boo hinted to in the rounds, like, we were just getting shot in the back, and there was no trade. It was just like every single fight they were getting was so easy for them. And to watch it back, I think it felt embarrassing watching it from the coaching booth, and I'm sure when we watch it back, it'll also feel embarrassing for the players watching it. It just felt like it was so easy for them, and that's not who we are. So yeah, it is hard to get a read on them, especially when they've played their last event with like Mind Freak, and then they've changed it back for Patman. So again, it's not an excuse. It's even harder for them, right? Like, they have to change players. So their prep was also probably hard, so I'm not trying to take anything away from them. Like, they prepared better than us, they played better than us, and we were really nowhere near good enough as a team. Individually, as a team, is the biggest thing. And even on Icebox, like, I felt like the rounds that we won on defense were just pure, I don't want to say luck, but like individual plays, or those around with the Gecko defuse. The rounds we won were not the way I want to win rounds. It's just not as a team, individualistic, not a fan. So we've got a lot of work to do.
No, most definitely on that. I mean, I want to ask you just sort of quickly about PaperX as a team, and also I want to ask you just sort of out of curiosity the difference between the PaperX that you faced back in Madrid last year and the one right now. I mean, looking at this PaperX squad, they kind of had to struggle at the start of stage one, and then finally found their form near the end of their playoff run in the domestic side, and then continuing that on obviously onto today. Um, what do you feel was the most important facet that, kind of helped PaperX, play so well? And how do you kind of compare that to the version that you guys faced back then? Obviously with the inclusion of Pac-Man, in for Mindfreak, and how that kind of like made a different version of the squad.
Yeah, I think comparing them to last year, I'd say last year they were kind of like behind in terms of how they played. I was never a huge fan of it. I think they were very individual last year, and it's like that's where you can get the inconsistency, I suppose. But I think this year they've been. I mean, like you said, they struggled a bit in the playoffs, but I think that's probably down to confidence. I know they were in confidence, and I think they were also probably trying to transition into a different sort of play style. They do still play very free, which I respect, but their team play is a much better. I think they're putting a lot better together. So yeah, it was just a difficult. Like they've still got the crazy individual players, right? And I think that's probably what they've improved on a lot. They've still got the crazy individual skill, but they're playing much better as a team. And we literally fell into the trap of if we're giving them aim fights, and it's one of the teams that will punish you if you give them dry aim fights. So yeah, the one thing that we are known for and that we preach as coaches is the trade potential and making sure every single frag is traded, and making sure we're going together and making sure our timing is impeccable. And that's what you need if you're going to play against PaperX. We didn't have it, and they were just better than us. So yeah, they've improved a lot.
Well, for sure. Going back into your team, for this part of the conversation, I want to ask you just sort of like the transition from like, EMEA, VCT EMEA, then having to play, I believe, the EWC qualifiers and having to go through that, or maybe you guys didn't have, you can kind of elaborate on that still. But, well, how has that transition been like for you guys to go from like the end of the domestic season and having to move on to Toronto? Because I believe for a good number of teams, you guys had to make make a quite long distance. I mean, sure, you guys have done this before, but how does this like traveling and the preparation compare to like the past international events that you guys have been a part of, and having to deal with like all of the fast paced schedule and the like?
Yeah. It's been very difficult, to be honest with you. Very, very difficult. I think as well, like the fact that EMEA it finished a lot later than the other regions. I hinted it to on the press conference. It's not an excuse, by the way. Like, sure, we had less time, but it's like, we're playing Fracture in the grand final against Fnatic, but then every other team's scrimming Sunset for a couple of weeks. And sure, we are comfortable on it, but, you still need time to play the map and see what's changed. And yeah, like small things like that. You're changing map pool, and then we finished in EMEA, so we obviously had a couple of days break. I think it was like 3 or 4 days off or something like that, but then we're straight back into it. And then less than a week later, you are flying to international, and you have to change up all the mistakes that we made in the grand finals against Fnatic. So we're focusing on that. And then, yeah, when you get to these events, there's not much turnaround. We landed on the 3rd. I think the boys got in, some of them about 9 p.m. 4th, you've got media the whole day. 5th and 6th is also kind of like media, features, content. So your practice time here is also very limited. And then obviously we're playing the first day of the tournament at a very early hour compared to most games. So it's not been easy, but again, not an excuse. PaperX are in the exact same situation, so they just handle it better than we did.
And like I said at the start of this conversation, knowing you guys and your past history, you guys are able to bounce back, and hopefully you guys will be able to do that very quickly for your next match, whoever it is that comes against you guys. So either way, best of luck goes to the team, but most importantly for yourself. Thank you so much for the conversation, for the interview, and good luck on the rest of the way.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too, man. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye.
All right.